next guy I want to introduce is another one of our local Tea Party guys. His name is Rick Roos. And Rick, as always, has got probably an opinionated message, but it's an opinion that most of us tend to agree with. And I like to say about Rick, he's kind of the original Tea Partier. He started Tea Partying about 20 years ago. So, anyway, Rick, come on up here. Rick's another guy I didn't know until a year ago, another good friend I made, and I know he's got a great thing.
Hi, Patriots. Yeah, Kettig's message, because that's exactly what I was emailing this afternoon, this morning, as far as the Sunshine Patriots. And I was trying to figure out how to weave Thomas Paine into my message, and I couldn't figure it out. But I'm sitting there going, there was the beginning of the 1943 movie called Song of Bernadette. And the beginning of it, it has, for those who believe in God, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not believe in God, no explanation is possible. Thomas Paine got in here, and that's a good thing. Now I've got to tell you, I'm really not a public speaker. I'm an author. So I write, and everything's written down, but that's what I do. But I do thank my friend the Bulldog, and I do wish him a happy birthday this afternoon, because he wasn't going to bring it up, but it's his birthday. Happy birthday, my friend. I'd like to take this opportunity to let you Patriots know what the guiding principles of the Sons and Daughters of Liberty actually are. There are thousands of groups similar to this across this country, and I apologize if this is on Thunder Weekend or whatever weekend and all that stuff, but this gathering of eagles right here is pretty cool, and it's blessed. These groups have common themes. These are our principles. The public validations of the concepts of liberty, freedom, smaller, less intrusive government, and, Michael, can you pan in on this? The Constitution. From Clarence Thomas, he said, he carried a copy of this around, and my friend Mike Sodrell has given thousands of them across the country, and when he was even waiting at stoplights, and Joe, don't listen to this, if it was a long delay, he'd pop out the Constitution. I do home health and hospice visits in 3 counties down here, so if I have one of my patients have to go to the bathroom, guess what I'm looking at? The second purpose is to provide a public forum for the free and rich exchange of ideas. That's the reason we're here today. That's the reason why Rick and I, we did the town hall meetings, because the Baron didn't want us to have them, or he wouldn't show up for them. The third is to raise awareness of corruption in government. And the fourth one is to not cease our relentless pursuit of those elected officials who have betrayed their oath or affirmation of office. That's the purpose of my talk today. As a Tea Party group, we generally combined our issues to national issues. But with the cowardly exploits of the Flea Party Democrats in the Indiana General Assembly, I give you State Representative Dave Cheatham. Now you've got to understand that Dave's a very likable guy, and we like him on several issues. He's anti-illegal aliens, he's anti-property taxes, but after that, he's shown his true colors in supporting his fellow liberal representative, Pat Bauer, who was also Speaker of the House in his last term. They walked away from their constitutional responsibilities in the General Assembly for the longest period of time in the history of Indiana. We had a radio ad to this effect to try to shame old Dave to come back or resign.
This is a missing legislator alert. Representative Dave Cheatham has been AWOL from his responsibilities at the General Assembly in Indianapolis. He has chosen to follow Pat Bauer and other liberal Democrats to Urbana, Illinois. He calls it performing his duties away from the Indiana State House for the time being, end quote. This is desertion, not a boycott. These folks will not abide by the last election, in actually debating and voting the issues. They are bowing to the wishes of union bosses. This is tyranny by the minority. Cheatham seems to have chosen an intellectually vacant position, similar to the recent philosophy of, if we don't spend it, somebody else will. In this case, if we don't show up, maybe the issues will just go away. Please call Cheatham in Illinois at 217-329-3500. Nicely urge him to come back and honor the oath he took. Funny, when Illinois politicians stay in Indiana, it's at a federal prison. When Indiana liberal Democrats stay in Illinois, it's at the Comfort Suites. Do your job, Dave, or resign. It's the difference of the sons and daughters of This is a missing legislator.
That's pretty cool. Barry and I are getting pretty good at this. All of us are getting really good at this. We thank Joe Boone for getting us on this track. And Barry and I are going to do a tutorial on how to do a radio ad for different tea parties. That's an aside. Rick and I are doing this radio show, thanks to Kettig setting it up. And we're calling it the Rick and Rick at Night Show. He calls it Frick and Frack, or Daryl, Daryl, and Daryl. But Rick and I even offered old Dave Cheatham a spot on our radio show to try to explain what he did. Indeed, it was not going to be a hit piece on him, and it wasn't going to be got you, but it was going to be a point counterpoint with our friend from Switzerland County, State Senator or State Representative Judd McMillan. Dave's response, I'm quoting, "Thanks for asking me to be on the show. I emailed Rick, the shorter, and let him know that I think the idea is good to talk about what is going on. So what I plan on doing is buying some time myself and having my own show with some guests from Jefferson County. I'm not sure when yet, but we'll work on the details." I haven't heard this show yet. When some constituents emailed him to implore him to come back, and I read both sides of the emails, old Dave contended that he had the moral high ground. In quotes, and this is to emailer Terry, "You are entitled to your opinion. You have no idea what kind of courage it takes to do something unpopular when it means defending 1 million school children in this state. I did the only thing left to me to do to stop the tyranny of the Republican Party. The Republicans filibuster in the U.S. Senate when they don't get their way, as do the Democrats. Why haven't you mentioned that? Because you're biased by your Republican ideology. You show little compassion for those less fortunate than yourself. I showed up for those children that need my voice the most. Those Republicans that showed up at the State House are the ones who didn't show up for the most vulnerable ones in our state, the children." This kind of has a theme with Barron Hill way back when too. "I will give you a Bible verse." This is from Dave. "Do not oppress the poor, the fatherless child, the widow, and the orphan, for their defender is the Lord Almighty. God will bring judgment on those who oppress the children." Now this is again to the emailer, and I want to emphasize, I want you to listen. Be careful of the words you use. You might regret it someday. That's scary. That's scary. Our Flea Party representative contended that he had a constitutional basis to walk away from his job. He seems to confuse this at times with the filibuster in the United States Senate, where they actually have rules that allow the filibuster. The Indiana Constitution does not. And my friend, the state treasurer, has read that Constitution as well. What our state Constitution does say in Article 4, Section 11, 2/3 of each house shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may meet, adjourn from day to day, and compel the attendance of absent members. Too bad they couldn't figure out how to do exactly that. Well, old Dave finally did deign to show up for a town hall meeting in North Vernon, then the next week in Madison. The North Vernon meeting was comprised of Democrat operatives and teachers sympathetic to old Dave. I was there, as was my middle son Joe. We were amongst the minority, and Mark Holwager was there as well. Sentiments unsympathetic to Cheatham were met with derision by partisan hacks. Cheatham mistook